The bill is passed.
Congress has now approved the agreement to suspend the nation's debt limit, averting what could have been a catastrophic default. But there was one Ohio lawmaker who was not on board. Thank you so much for joining us for Face the State. I'm Tracy Townsend. Republican Senator JD Vance tweeted he was firmly against the bill. He said, quote, "I had hoped we could improve this deal through the amendment process, but the reality is this bill was beyond saving. Ohioans have suffered long enough from the inflation caused by the Biden administration's out-of-control budget, and this bill simply does nothing to end their spending spree. This is a bad deal for the people of Ohio, which is why I voted against it this evening." End quote.
This is a bad deal for America, and I think we need to be clear about this. If you look, Eric, at the headline spending cuts, that would be a good number, and I'd be happy with it. But you've got to read the fine print of this legislation. It's one of the good things about being in the Senate is we've had a little bit more time to actually look at this. All of the spending cuts, or nearly all of the spending cuts, can be waived by the Office of Management and Budget, which is, of course, controlled by the Biden administration.
Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown shared his thoughts with us on Friday morning.
I consider it a victory. That's why it got a resounding bipartisan vote.
So let me ask you a couple things. JD Vance voted against it, and he said he felt like it didn't really speak to the inflation issues that his constituents are facing.
Well, I'm not JD Vance. Bring him on the show and ask him.
We will do that.
But the fact is, all 10 Republicans, all 5 Democrats in the House of Representatives voted for it. And I didn't know. I talked to JD pretty often.
Yeah.
We're working on this railroad bill together, but I didn't ask him. I never really ask, as much as Rob Portman and I work together. I didn't really ever say, "Why'd you vote that way, Rob?" It's not really my business. It's insane. We're there are only 2 countries in the world that do this. I mean, this is looking back. We've run up these bills, rightly or wrongly, as a Congress, as a president, as the American people. And if we owe the bills, if we owe the money, we should pay for it. There shouldn't be a debate in Congress every 2 years where people play these political games and all this partisanship that doesn't serve anybody well. It doesn't serve investors well. It doesn't serve the public well. It doesn't serve older people especially well, who are relying on Social Security and their pensions and all that. And it's just a stupid way to do business.
Republican Congressman Mike Carey voted for the bill, and we talked with him before the vote in Washington.
We're doing some things that I didn't think that the president was going to give on. The work requirement thing is something that we thought was important. I think the fact that we're going to be spending less is something, and we never did this under a Republican president and a Republican Congress. So I think those 2 things alone, but if you also look at the rate that government is going to grow, is going to be significantly less. We're not going to mess with veterans because a lot of people had said, why are you going to vote on something that's going to touch veteran benefits? There's nothing going to be touched with the veterans. It pluses up our military. Again, there's some people that are saying it doesn't plus up our military enough. But in the end, it's a balanced deal, and I think one that, again, has the support of the entire Ohio delegation. We did our version of the bill. The president, obviously had some things that he wanted to discuss. And no, there was never doubt in my mind that we'd get a bill onto the floor. And really, I think when you look at the Republican support behind Kevin, we're all there for him. I mean, there's a handful of people, for whatever reason, are not going to vote for this bill. But no, I was never in doubt that we would get a bill on the floor.
We've been in touch with 3rd District Congresswoman Joyce Beatty's office about this vote. Her office sent us a statement reading in part, "Today I voted yes on the bipartisan budget agreement to prevent a devastating default on America and to protect key programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, temporary assistance for needy families, veterans benefits, education, and housing from the worst Republican impulses." And here's what else the congressman had to say, this time on the House floor before the vote.
It is obvious that Republicans are defaulting on our debt. Instead of honoring our sacred obligation to pay our bills, Democrats will not let the Bank of Justice be destroyed by MAGA Republicans. We come to this floor today, the people's house,
Time's expired.
to put people over politics,
The gentlewoman
to
is no
demand
longer
that Speaker
recognized.
McCarthy.
The gentlewoman's no longer recognized.
And the Congresswoman shared this video with the words, "You can cut my microphone, but you cannot silence me." Again, that's 3rd District Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. Members of the Ohio State Highway Patrol are headed to Texas this month. Governor Mike DeWine authorized a group to head south to help border agents. Texas Governor Greg Abbott asked for the help after the COVID-19 immigration restriction expired. Governor Mike DeWine had this to say about the move.
This is very similar to what we did the last time we received a request. This request again came from Texas. We're going to have, I believe, 14 members of the Highway Patrol. They're going to be down there about 2 weeks. They're not going to be involved directly in arrests, but the last time we sent them, they were very helpful. We had one member of the Highway Patrol who literally saved someone's life. And so that's the least that we can do, is to help Texas with this challenge that they face.
14 troopers and supervisors will spend 2 weeks at the border. A nationwide search is on for the next general manager of the Ohio State Fair. Ohio Expo Center and State Fair General Manager Virgil Strickler is retiring after 30 years of service. He's the longest-running GM of the State Fair. Strickler says whoever replaces him will need to manage a lot at once.
It's so tough to put this whole fair on and know where every concession goes and all that. Now, then you focus on the horse show, then you focus on the livestock shows and make sure everything's ready for them.
Strickler helped create the Ohio State Fair's Youth Reserve Program back in 1995. It has awarded a total of more than $4.6 million in scholarships to more than 44,500 students who have participated in the fair. Governor DeWine announced the program has been named in Strickler's honor.
Virgil Strickler Youth Reserve Program, through that, the tradition that Virgil started and implemented of using a portion of the funds from the sale of champions for such scholarships and prizes for outstanding exhibitors will continue and really be a permanent part of this fair.
Governor DeWine says it will be a nationwide search to fill Strickler's position, and they will still look at Ohioans. They expect the new GM to start at the beginning of 2024. All right, for the first time, we are seeing how Ohio's 3rd grade reading guarantee works for students. This week, we got results from a study on retaining 3rd grade students who score low on English. Schools reported that students who were retained did better in later years than students with similar scores who moved up. And students who were retained learned fast. 90% increased their English score. More than half moved up an entire level.
The research is tragic, quite frankly. The scores are heartbreaking. It's a crisis today, not just in our states, but many other states. And there's no more significant benchmark in education than ensuring that students are proficient readers before they leave elementary school.
The group Ohio Excels is using this research to argue against House Bill 117. That bill would eliminate that retention policy. Ohio Excel is urging Governor DeWine to keep the reading guarantee policy in place. All right, during his presidential campaign announcement, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis claimed that no books have been banned in Florida. Verifies Ariana Datil looks into whether that's true.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced he's running for president in 2024.
I am running for president of the United States to lead our great American comeback.
During the hour-long address live streamed on Twitter, DeSantis touched on a number of issues, including book bans in Florida.
The whole book ban thing is a hoax. There's not been a single book banned in the state of Florida.
After DeSantis' announcement, California Governor Gavin Newsom tweeted that last school year, Florida had 566 bans across 21 school districts. So let's verify. Have no books been banned in Florida, as DeSantis claimed? Our sources are Middle Tennessee State University's First Amendment Encyclopedia, the American Library Association, PEN America, and Jeremy Redfern, press secretary for Governor Ron DeSantis. According to the American Library Association and Middle Tennessee State University's First Amendment Encyclopedia, book banning is the removal of books from libraries, school reading lists, or bookstores because a person or organization objects to its content, ideas, or themes. PEN America, a nonprofit organization that defends free expression, collects data on book bans by school district, governments, and organizations across the country. In Florida, there are no statewide book bans, but school districts can make their own rules. According to PEN America, during the 2021 to 2022 school year, 566 books were banned across 21 school districts. Those were the same numbers cited in Newsom's tweet. And this school year, PEN America says 357 books have been banned across 13 school districts in Florida. So why did DeSantis say there weren't any books banned in the state? Jeremy Redfern, a press secretary for DeSantis, says the governor's office doesn't consider books removed from curriculum as banned because people can still go to bookstores in the state and buy them. Nevertheless, DeSantis' claim is false. Even though there have been no statewide bans on books in Florida, hundreds of books were removed from school districts across the state just last year alone, which fits the definition of a book ban. With your Verify, I'm Ariande Till.
What can we verify for you? Reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, or email us at verify@sentv.com. DeSantis is pledging a shakeup at the Department of Justice if he's elected president. He told supporters in Iowa last week that he will ensure there's a new, stronger FBI director on day one. He's considered the top contender against former President Donald Trump in the GOP race for 2024. But former Vice President Mike Pence is gaining momentum as he gets ready to announce his presidential bid this coming week. He talked about eliminating the U.S. Department of Education last week alongside former Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos. And former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is planning to announce his White House bid this coming Tuesday. That's according to 3 sources familiar with his plans. And they say Christie will make the announcement at a town hall in New Hampshire. The new sports gambling numbers have been released, and you might be surprised who's losing. Clay Gordon is crunching the numbers for Consumer 10. And legislation that could ease the pain at the pump. We're talking with Ohio's 15th District Representative Mike Carey about his plan and why some environmentalists aren't so sure. And meet the Golden Cubs, the inspiring moments at the golf course. We are back with more of our conversation with Congressman Mike Carey, who represents Ohio's 15th Congressional District. He recently introduced the Pay Less at the Pump Act, and he says his goal is to lower gas prices, encourage more domestic energy production, and reduce America's reliance on foreign sources of energy. One big piece of this is amending the IRS code to terminate the hazardous substance Superfund financing rate. That's also known as the Superfund tax. Kerry says taxpayers will save an estimated $10.5 billion over the next 10 years.
We still have high rates at the gas pump right now. So this is, I think, a first step in lessening what people are going to be paying, back home. So I've already spoken with the Senate. I believe we're going to have a Senate co-sponsor. They're going to introduce my bill in the Senate. So I think we're going to get this thing through. I think it'll receive bipartisan support. So my hope is that we get this piece of legislation, the Senate will have companion legislation, then we can get this enacted in law.
We should note supporters of the Superfund tax called the reinstatement a victory for the environment. All right, now to college sports and athletes getting paid. The NCAA has been asking for Congress to step in on the name, image, likeness debate since the policy was instituted back in 2021. And now Congressman Kerry is sponsoring legislation related to NIL, as it's called. He says it's bipartisan.
This is something that is a bipartisan bill. I'm working with my colleague, Greg Landsman, who's out of Cincinnati. And we've worked with, our universities in Ohio, particularly Ohio State. I think UC's been involved. This ensures that student athletes are not considered employees. I think that was something that was very important. It protects the recruiting process and prohibiting the inducements of detailed actions by boosters and recruiting process that would be penalized through the FTC. It also makes sure that there's a clearinghouse for any NIL deal when it reaches over the $500 threshold. And I think it's one that, Greg being the Democrat, me being the Republican lead, I think it's one that will get a lot of support. There are other bills that will be floating out there, but we want to be the first out of the gate because it is important to all the Ohio universities. And so I think it sets the marker, and we'll see where the negotiations go.
Unbelievable exposure.
OSU Athletic Director Gene Smith says he supports this legislation. All right, the new sports gambling revenue numbers are out for the state of Ohio. Although online sports gambling is raking in millions for the state, one entity is operating at a loss. 10 TV's Clay Gordon dug into the data for Consumer 10.
More than $3 billion has come through sports gambling in the Buckeye State through the first 4 months of revenue reports from the Ohio Casino Control Commission, meaning Ohio receives about $450 million in taxable revenue.
These are for online sports books or through gambling operations through casinos, ballparks, and sports venues. This means Ohio gamblers are sticking with the big leagues when it comes to placing bets and not cozying up to a bar or restaurant kiosk as much as the Ohio Lottery would like. The Ohio Lottery, which operates inside host locations, reported $4.3 million within the first 4 months of this year. The state gets $103,000. If this trend keeps up at this pace, Ohio would take a cut of about $311,000. Consumer 10 reached out to the Ohio Lottery, and a spokesperson says it costs about $650,000 to operate annually. The lottery was, quote, tasked by the legislature with starting the lottery sports gaming program. We knew that it was not going to be as lucrative as traditional lottery products. Unlike traditional lottery games that have fixed payouts and prize structures, sports gaming odds are volatile and change quickly, and sometimes proprietors take a loss. This means only about 1% of Ohio gamblers are betting locally. The Ohio Lottery told me that even though they mainly are a regulator, one of their biggest challenges is to educate players on 925 active host locations and unique wagering opportunities, with more proprietors and more host locations coming soon.
And we thank Clay Gordon for sharing that report with us. Columbus-based Donato's Pizza celebrating its 60th year of serving up those famous square-cut pizzas. This past week, Governor Mike DeWine and Lieutenant Governor John Husted visited the original Donato's location on Thurman Avenue. The gathering also celebrated Donato's founder Jim Grody, who opened his first pizza shop in 1963. The chain today last week, rolled out new innovation that uses automation to make pizzas faster. That's what you see here. It's technology, the governor says, puts Columbus on the cutting edge.
Having a company like Donato's that's grown in Ohio makes it so very important, not just for people to be employed, but all that you give back to the community.
And to cap off the celebration, you see it right there, the city officially changing the name of Thurman Avenue to Donato's Way. The final tournament round is underway this morning at the Memorial, but some of the loudest applause hasn't gone to the golfers at all. 10 TV's Adam King shows us the real stars of the show this past Wednesday at the ProAm.
On Wednesday, everyone comes to Muirfield to see the ProAm and Jack. And while it may be the Bears' course, today it's the Golden Cubs stealing the show. A four-time NBA champion.
Please welcome Justin Thomas.
A major winner and country music star. All of them teeing off at Muirfield today. But in the midst of this star-studded Pro-Am,
I'd like to introduce our Golden Cub here.
The loudest roars rang out for the Golden Cubs. A day for patients at Nationwide Children's to get to enjoy Jack's course for themselves.
It was really cool because everyone clapped, that everyone cares about you.
This is Addison, Perry, and Ella. These are just a few of the Golden Cubs.
It was so special to watch Perry out there, and it's just hard to watch your child go through a cancer journey. Yeah, it's just been a long road, but to see him out here thriving and having so much fun and smiling and being a kid just warms my mama heart.
Pictures with Steph are great, but for a Cub, meeting the bear is always a special moment.
How you doing?
Probably meeting all the famous superstars,
because we know they care and we know that we care about them too. And people that's supportive, that's with you in your life.
The golf doesn't stop on the tee box. The full pro experience comes with a private lesson. This one from Aisha Curry.
Hi! You excited to play golf today? Awesome.
But the stars keep shining, with Scarlet and Gray rolling in to help with the practice. A surprise visit for many of the Buckeye football team.
Nice to meet you. You see the adversity that they go through and things like that, and it inspires even me. It pushes me to be motivated and to do better and to continue battling adversity no matter what's in front of me. So I'm always taking that next step forward. I'm glad I was able to go out here because I've learned a lot today too.
With a lesson complete and pictures done, there is only one thing left to do.
You like a milkshake, my dog? You want chocolate or vanilla?
No doubt, a golden day for the Cubs at the Memorial Tournament. Adam King, 10 TV Sports.
Milkshakes look great, don't they? Well, Pride Month is here, and coming up on Face the State, we are going to talk with a Girl Scout who made sure her community stood proud this weekend. And mental health is health, and experts say it should be prioritized beyond Mental Health Awareness Month. We're talking with an expert next. Welcome back. You know, we were honored to join with the On Our Sleeves movement at Nationwide Children's Hospital last month to focus on mental health awareness. And as we are well on our way into the month of June, just one more reminder about the importance of connecting with children in conversation. I talked with Dr. Whitney Ragland-Bignall, the Associate Clinical Director of On Our Sleeves, and she told me families have to make talking a habit.
We want it to be a habit so that these trusting relationships can develop, and that On Our Sleeves has a whole section on our website for Operation Conversation, and it has lots of conversation prompts, some of more easy topics, but also about some of those tougher ones. Because I know sometimes parents are like, I don't know how to talk about it. We do have the resources on our website to help support you in some of those questions to ask.
And you can find the link to the On Our Sleeves movement at 10tv.com. Now, as we kick off Pride Month, there are a number of activities you can get involved with over the next few weeks. 10TV's Amy Steigerwald spoke with one local Girl Scout troop leader, paving the way for the smaller celebrations. Amy takes us to Bexley.
June in Central Ohio is typically filled with fun, engaging, larger-than-life events celebrating inclusivity. But 2 years ago, Girl Scout Grace Hansen noticed the streets of Bexley appeared somewhat quiet during June, with few events celebrating Pride Month.
We just wanted a little bit of representation in Bexley. I know Bexley's a pretty accepting community, and we wanted an event that allowed people like us to feel represented or accepted.
Grace, alongside her entire Girl Scout troop, decided to take matters into their own hands and organize a Pride Walk. They expected their friends and family and some community members to make an appearance, but were shocked when hundreds showed up.
I did not expect that many people to show up. It's not something that we just wanted people to watch. We wanted people to join in.
The girls decked out the sidewalk for the walk and plan to expand on their plans this year with different activities like friendship-making bracelets and other booths at the event. In Bexley, Amy Steigerwald, 10TV News.
And you can find a full list of Pride events happening in Central Ohio at our website, 10tv.com. Well, we certainly have enjoyed talking with you today here on Face the State. Thank you for joining us. And remember, we wish you a great week. Take care.